Rain came down on Newbury Street like the sky had something to confess. Gregory Whitaker gripped the wheel of his black Bentley. He'd been calling his mother for 41 minutes. The light turned red. He slammed the brake. And that's when he saw it. Through sheets of rain, on the sidewalk across the street, his 72-year-old mother, Pearl's navy coat, was slumped against a young black teenager in a soaked hoodie. The boy's arms were around her. Something snapped inside Gregory's chest. He threw the door open.
Get your hands off my
He
mother!
started running. What Gregory was about to do next, he would regret for the rest of his life. Because that homeless boy he was about to grab, he was the only reason she was still breathing. 3 hours earlier, Lamar Hayes had exactly $4.12 to his name, and a decision to make that he didn't even know was a decision yet. 5:40 in the morning. Under the Beacon Street underpass, Lamar opened his eyes to the sound of a garbage truck 3 blocks away. He always woke before his body wanted to. Homeless kids learn fast. You sleep light, or you don't sleep at all. He folded his wool blanket with the kind of care you'd give a flag at a funeral, corner to corner, smooth, tight. His mother had taught him that. How you keep your bed, baby, that's how you see yourself. Don't ever forget. He tucked the blanket into his backpack. Inside were 3 things that mattered to him. A paperback copy of Gray's Anatomy, cover held together with electrical tape. A CPR training card expired 2 months ago, but he still carried it like an ID. And a laminated photo of his mother, Denise Hayes, in her nurse's scrubs, smiling the way she used to smile, before the stroke. Before the morning, he couldn't save her. Lamar was 17. He'd been on these streets for 8 months. 8 months since the landlord padlocked their apartment in Dorchester. 8 months since the state told him there were no foster placements for teenagers his age. 8 months since he dropped out of Brighton High, 3 weeks before graduation, because you can't study trigonometry when you don't know where you're sleeping that night. His father had never been in the picture. His mother had no siblings. When she died, Lamar inherited exactly one thing: a silver medallion on a thin chain. St. Luke, patron saint of physicians. She'd worn it every single day of her nursing career. He wore it now, under his hoodie, against his chest. He stepped out from under the underpass and started walking toward downtown. The morning was cold. His jacket wasn't enough. But Lamar had a routine, and routine kept him sane. First stop, Millie's Diner on Huntington Avenue. 3 nights a week, he washed dishes for Carl, the owner, for cash under the table. $10 an hour, no questions. Carl was gruff, but he wasn't cruel. He let Lamar keep a coffee can behind the dish station with his name on it. $62 were inside right now. Lamar was saving for one thing: an EMT basic certification course at a community training center in Roxbury. It cost $180, plus books. The next session started in September. He had until then to scrape together the rest. He needed it the way other kids needed their phones. He needed it because he'd watched his mother die on their kitchen floor, and he hadn't known what to do. Face drooping, arm weakness, speech slurred. Time to call. He hadn't known the words back then. He knew them now. He'd watched the same YouTube video maybe 300 times. He'd watched it on library computers until the librarian stopped asking him what grade he was in and just smiled when he walked through the door. Never again, he'd whisper to himself in the blue light of the monitor. I ain't never gonna be that useless again. Never. He turned onto Boylston Street. An elderly man was struggling up the stairs from the tea station with 2 grocery bags. Lamar jogged over without thinking, grabbed both bags, walked them up to the sidewalk. The man dug in his wallet and held out $1. Lamar shook his head, smiled. No, sir, you keep that. Have a good one. And he was moving again. A block later, he spotted a brown leather wallet on a bench. He picked it up, flipped it open. Driver's license, credit cards, $220 in cash, a kid's school picture tucked behind the plastic. Lamar didn't hesitate. He walked 6 blocks out of his way to the District 4 precinct and handed it to Officer Daniels at the front desk. Daniels looked at him over his glasses, shook his head slowly. "Hayes, son, you gotta start thinking about yourself, man." Lamar grinned. "I am thinking about myself, officer. I'm thinking about who I want to be." Daniels watched him walk out, sighed, reached for his coffee. By noon, Lamar was at the Boston Public Library. Central Branch, 2nd floor, the reference computers. He pulled up the same bookmarked video, recognizing a stroke, the FAST protocol. He mouthed the words along with the screen, like a prayer. Mrs. Delacroix, a shelter worker who'd known his mother years ago, spotted him on his way out. She pressed a wrapped turkey sandwich into his hands. Her eyes were wet. "Your mama would be so proud, baby. You hear me? So proud." Lamar ducked his head. "Yes, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am." 2 o'clock. He left the library. The sky had turned the color of wet concrete. By the time he reached Copley Square, the rain had started. Cold, sideways. The kind of October rain that got into your bones and stayed there. He pulled his hood up, tightened the drawstring, and started the mile-long walk toward Millie's for his 4 o'clock shift. He had no idea that in 43 minutes, the woman who would change his entire life was already collapsing 2 blocks ahead of him. He had no idea his whole world was about to split in half. She felt the left side of her face go numb before she felt anything else. And she was completely, terrifyingly alone. Eleanor Whitaker stepped out of Copley Place at 2:47 in the afternoon, clutching a small paper bag from Newbury Books. Inside was a hardcover biography of Frederick Douglass, a gift for her grandson Preston's 20th birthday next week. She'd spent 40 minutes picking it out. She liked doing these things herself. An hour earlier, she dismissed her driver, Henry. "I want to walk, Henry. I'm not made of glass." Henry had protested, as he always did. Eleanor had waved him off, as she always did. 72 years old, matriarch of the Whitaker family. Old Boston money by marriage, but she'd grown up in a 3-decker in Dorchester, and she'd be damned if she let her son wrap her in bubble wrap. What Gregory didn't know, what nobody knew, was that she'd just left a cardiologist's office. 2 weeks of dizzy spells. Her blood pressure was elevated. Her doctor had used the word concerning. She hadn't told her son. She wasn't about to ruin his week. "I'll tell him Sunday," she'd thought, "over dinner, where I can reassure him properly." She turned the corner onto Boylston Street. The rain had picked up. She pulled the collar of her navy cashmere coat higher. The small enamel lapel pin on her chest, a tiny gold lighthouse, the Whitaker Foundation emblem, caught the gray light. At the corner of Boylston and Exeter, she stopped to let a car turn. And then it happened. A tingling, sharp and strange, shot down her left arm. Her fingers went cold. Her vision blurred at the edges, like someone had smudged the world with a thumb. She tried to shake it off, took a step forward. Her left leg didn't work quite right. "Oh," she whispered, or tried to. The word came out soft and thick, like she had cotton in her mouth. A woman in a red raincoat hurried past. Eleanor turned toward her, tried to say, "Excuse me, could you?" What came out of her mouth was garbled, a string of syllables that didn't add up. The woman glanced at her, frowned, and kept walking. Eleanor watched her disappear down the block. Her right hand reached out and found a lamppost. She held on. Get the phone. Call Gregory. Her purse hung from her right shoulder. She fumbled with the zipper. Her fingers wouldn't obey her. She got it open, reached in, pulled out her phone. It slipped. She watched it fall, almost in slow motion, watched it clatter into a puddle at her feet. The screen splintered into a spider web. The home screen went black. Eleanor stared at it. A businessman hurried past, umbrella tilted low, and didn't even glance at her. Two teenage girls walked by, laughing, earbuds in. One of them met Eleanor's eyes for half a second, looked away, kept walking. A man in a suit slowed, looked at her leaning on the lamppost. His face shifted into something like disgust. She must be drunk, Eleanor saw him think. He sped up. She wanted to scream. She couldn't. The rain ran down her face. She wasn't sure anymore if it was rain or tears or both. This is how it happens, she thought, very clearly. On a sidewalk, in the rain, and nobody even stops. Her knees started to buckle. Her grip on the lamppost weakened. The world tilted sideways. Across the street, 30 feet away, moving fast through the rain with his hood pulled low, Lamar Hayes was half jogging toward Millie's, already late. His sneakers were soaked. His thoughts were on Carl's temper and the 20 minutes he'd need to make up on the clock. He almost didn't see her. He took 2 more steps past the crosswalk before something made him turn his head. An elderly woman, leaning on a lamppost, navy coat, pearls. His first thought was the same thing everyone else had thought. Drunk, homeless, not my problem. I'm going to get fired. He took another step. Then his eyes caught the details. Her face was pulling down on one side, hard, like someone had tied a string to her cheek and tugged. A bookstore bag sat collapsed on the wet pavement beside her. A cracked phone lay in a puddle at her feet, and a single word lit up inside Lamar Hayes's brain like a flare. Fast. Face, arm, speech, time. He stopped dead in the middle of the sidewalk. A man behind him swore and swerved around him. Lamar didn't hear it. He was already running. He crossed the street without looking. A car honked. He didn't care. He reached her just as her legs gave out underneath her, and he caught her full weight against his chest. Her eyes rolled back. Her lips were blue. And a 17-year-old homeless kid with $4 in his pocket was the only person on that sidewalk who understood, in that second, that this woman had maybe 10 minutes to live. Everything he had taught himself in 8 months of library videos, all of it came down to the next 6 minutes. Lamar eased her down slowly. His left arm slid under her shoulders, his right hand supported her head. He lowered her to the sidewalk the way he'd seen paramedics do it on his phone, back against the brick wall of a dry cleaner's, under the thin lip of an awning, out of the worst of the rain. Her body slumped to the left, her left arm went limp in her lap, her mouth pulled down on that side, slack, textbook. Ma'am, can you hear me? Her eyes fluttered, opened, found his. Can you smile for me? Just try. She tried. The right side of her mouth lifted. The left side didn't move. Okay. Can you squeeze my hand? Squeeze as hard as you can. He put his hand in hers. Her right hand gripped his, weakly. He moved his hand to her left. Nothing. Not even a flicker. Can you say your name for me? A sound came out of her throat. It was almost a word. Almost. Lamar nodded once. His jaw was tight. Okay, ma'am. Okay. I got you. You stay with me. He pulled his ancient prepaid flip phone from his pocket, thumbed 911, put it to his ear. 911, what's your emergency? His voice came out steady, flat, trained. Boylston and Exeter, outside Newberry Books. Elderly female, approximately 70 years old, suspected ischemic stroke. Left side facial droop, left arm weakness, aphasic speech. She's conscious but declining. I need EMS, code 3. A pause on the other end. Sir, are you medical personnel? No, ma'am. I just know what I'm looking at. Please hurry. Units are en route. Stay on the line. He kept the phone pressed to his ear with his shoulder. A small crowd was starting to form. A woman with a stroller, a bike messenger in a neon jacket, a man in a Red Sox cap. They stared. Lamar didn't have time to be polite. Sir, he pointed at the bike messenger. Corner. Flag down the ambulance. Make sure they see us. The messenger blinked. Yeah, okay. He took off running. Ma'am. He pointed at the woman with the stroller. She's going into shock. I need something dry. Scarf, jacket, anything. The woman pulled off her own coat without a word, handed it over. Lamar wrapped it around Eleanor's shoulders, tucked it around her legs. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you. He took Eleanor's good hand, her right one, held it between both of his, leaned close so she could see his face. Hey, look at me. What's your name? You can't say it, that's okay. Just nod if you can hear me. She nodded, barely. A tear rolled down into the rain on her cheek. Good, that's real good. My name's Lamar. I'm right here. I ain't going nowhere. You hear me? I ain't going nowhere. She squeezed his hand. He felt it. The St. Luke's medal had slipped out of his collar. It hung in the rain between them. She saw it. Her fingers reached up, trembling, barely brushed it. There was a question in her eyes. Lamar's throat closed for a second. My mama's, he said. She was a nurse. She'd know exactly what to do right now. So we're going to pretend she's here, okay? You and me. Ain't nobody dying on my watch today. Eleanor's hand tightened in his and didn't let go. He remembered another piece of the video. Stroke patients shouldn't lie flat if they were conscious. Elevate the head. Turn to the side in case of vomiting. I'm just going to tilt you a little, ma'am. Real gentle. That's it. There you go. You're doing great. He adjusted her with the care of a son moving his grandmother, voiced every movement. How we doing on time? He called to the man in the Red Sox cap. The man looked at his watch. 4 minutes since the call. Felt like an hour. Lamar kept his eyes on Eleanor's. Tell me about somebody you love, ma'am. You can't say it, I know. Just think about 'em real hard. Hold on to 'em. Her eyes welled up again. Yeah, that's it. You hold on. And then her eyes started to flutter. His stomach dropped. No. Ma'am, hey, look at me. Look at me. Her eyes drifted. Somebody's waiting on you to come home today. You hear me? Somebody's sitting somewhere waiting on you. You got somebody. Stay with me. Her eyes opened, found his. A sound came out of her throat. He leaned closer. Son. Your son. Yeah, he's waiting on you. He don't even know yet, but he's waiting. You gotta go see him. Her fingers tightened on his. Somewhere down the block, sirens, getting closer. You hear that? That's for you. They comin' for you, ma'am. Almost there. The ambulance rounded the corner, lights painting the rain red and blue. It braked hard. 2 paramedics jumped out with a gurney. Lamar didn't move his hand from Eleanor's. He just started talking, fast, clean, every word in order. Onset approximately 8 minutes ago. Left side hemiparesis, facial droop, expressive aphasia. GCS dropped from 15 to about 13 a minute ago. She's been responsive to voice this whole time. No known meds on her. No ID I could check without moving her. Phone's in the puddle. She came out of the bookstore. The lead paramedic, 50s, gray goatee, froze for a full second staring at him. Son, where'd you learn to do a handoff like that? Lamar shrugged. Water dripped from his hood. Library. The paramedic blinked. Then he was moving. They got Eleanor onto the gurney in 40 seconds. As they lifted her, her right hand tightened one last time around Lamar's. Her eyes locked onto his. She couldn't speak. She didn't have to. Thank you. Don't forget me. Please don't forget me. Lamar held her gaze, squeezed her hand back. You're going to be all right, ma'am. They got you now. He gently placed her hand on her chest. Then he stepped back. The doors slammed. The siren started again, and the ambulance screamed away down Boylston Street toward Mass General. Lamar stood in the rain. He looked down at his hands. They were trembling, not from the cold, from whatever was crashing out of his body now that it was over. He whispered it to the sky. Mama, I didn't freeze. I didn't freeze this time. And he started crying right there on the sidewalk, hard, ugly crying, rain washing it down his face. Then he looked at his phone. 4:28 p.m. He was 28 minutes late for his shift. He took off running. He thought that was the end of it. He had no idea a storm was already forming around him, with his name right in the middle of it. Millie's Diner, 4:58 p.m. Lamar burst through the back door, soaked to his socks. Carl was already yelling before the door swung shut. Hayes, where the hell have you been? Dinner rush started an hour ago. You think this place runs itself? Lamar didn't argue, didn't explain, just pulled an apron off the hook, tied it fast, and grabbed the dish sprayer. Head down, hands moving. Sorry, Carl. Won't happen again. Carl watched him for a second. Something in the kid's face stopped the rest of the yelling in his throat. He grunted and walked back out to the floor. Lamar worked through the rush like a machine. Plates, glasses, silverware, steam rising off his hands. He didn't let himself think about her. Not yet. If he thought about her, he'd fall apart. And he couldn't afford to fall apart on the clock. What he didn't know was this. The bike messenger in the neon jacket, his name was Tariq Washington. And the last 90 seconds of that sidewalk, Lamar's handoff to the paramedics, he'd filmed on his phone. At 8:14 that night, Tariq posted it on TikTok. Homeless teen saves old lady's life in Boylston. He told the medics he learned CPR at the library. I'm not okay. By 9 p.m., the video had 400,000 views. By midnight, it was on Reddit. By the time Lamar was curled up under his wool blanket at the Beacon Street underpass, people all over Boston were trying to figure out who the kid was. And across the city, on the neurology floor at Mass General Hospital, Gregory Whitaker was pacing outside room 812. The doctor came out around 7:30. Clean white coat, tired eyes, gentle voice. Mr. Whitaker, your mother is stable. She received TPA within the treatment window. She's going to make a significant recovery. But I have to be direct with you. If that young man hadn't recognized what was happening and called when he did, we'd be having a very different conversation tonight. He bought us the only minutes that mattered. Gregory's throat closed. What young man? The nurse showed him the video on her phone. Gregory watched his mother on a wet sidewalk, shaking, gripping a stranger's hand. He watched a skinny black kid in a soaked hoodie hold her together. He watched himself, in his memory, running at that kid with his fists up. He sat down in the hallway and cried for the first time in 20 years. The next morning, he sent his assistant, Vanessa Price, to find the boy. Vanessa took a still from the video, Lamar's face, hood down, rain on his skin, and worked it like a missing persons case. By 11 a.m., she was walking into Millie's Diner. She showed Carl the photo. Carl looked at it, looked at her tailored coat, crossed his arms. Maybe, depends who's asking. She handed him a business card. Embossed Lighthouse, Whitaker Holdings. Carl whistled softly, turned toward the kitchen. Hayes, somebody out here for you. Lamar came out wiping soap suds on his apron. Vanessa smiled, warm, careful. She introduced herself, told him Mrs. Whitaker was recovering well, that the family wanted to thank him. Then she reached into her bag and pulled out a check. $25,000, made out to Lamar Hayes. Lamar stared at it. In his apron pocket, he had $71. This check was more money than he'd ever seen in one place in his life. It was an apartment, a real coat, a year of breathing room. 50 EMT courses over. He looked up at her. "Ma'am, that's real kind, but I didn't do it for that." Vanessa's smile faltered. "Sweetheart, I don't think you understand what this—" "No, ma'am, I do understand. She's somebody's mama. I just wanted her to see her people again. I'd feel like I was selling her if I took that. I can't." The diner went quiet. Carl, wiping down a counter, stopped wiping. Vanessa looked at him for a long moment. Her eyes got glassy. She nodded. She reached back into her bag, pulled out one more thing. A personal business card. Cream cardstock. Embossed lighthouse. "Then take this. If you ever need anything at all, you call this number, any hour of the day or night. Do you promise me?" Lamar took the card. Didn't even look at the name. "Yes, ma'am. I promise." He slipped it into the pocket of his hoodie, right next to the St. Luke's medal, and he went back to washing dishes. He didn't read the name on that card for another 3 days, and when he did, he dropped it like it burned his fingers. Little things started happening, small things, things a kid like Lamar wasn't supposed to notice. Day 1, end of his shift at Millie's. Carl pulled him aside, frowning at the tip jar. "Hayes, your jar's been weird. $200 in there tonight, same as yesterday. Somebody's dropping in hundreds. You know anything about that?" Lamar shook his head. "No, sir. Nobody tips me." Carl grunted. "Well, somebody is. Ain't me." Day 2, Pine Street Inn shelter. Coach Brennan, who ran the men's program, waved Lamar into his office. "Kid, somebody paid up a private room here for you for 6 months. Hot shower, locked door, your name on it. Didn't leave a name on theirs. You know anybody with money like that?" Lamar stared at him. "No, sir. I don't know nobody." That night, he slept in a real bed for the first time in 8 months. He didn't cry until the lights were off. Day 3. A black town car idled across the street from Millie's during his shift. Tinted windows. Engine running. It didn't move. It didn't follow him. It just watched. He told himself he was being paranoid. He wasn't. That same evening, Mrs. Delacroix handed him a plain white envelope at the shelter. "Man dropped this off. Said make sure Lamar Hayes gets it. Said don't ask questions." Lamar tore it open on the bench outside. Inside was a single sheet. Northeastern University Community Education Program. Confirmation of Enrollment. EMT Basic Certification. Tuition, books, uniform, and materials paid in full. Student, Lamar Hayes. Donor, anonymous. He sat on that bench for a full minute. Wind turned the paper in his hands. He didn't cry. He didn't move. He just breathed, slow and deep, like a kid who'd been holding his breath for 8 months and finally remembered he was allowed to let it go. Then he remembered the card. He dug it out of his hoodie, held it under the streetlight, read the name for the first time. Gregory S. Whitaker, Chairman and CEO, Whitaker Holdings. His stomach dropped through the bench. He ran, literally ran, to the library before it closed. Pulled up Google on a public computer, typed the name. Forbes. Net worth? $4.3 billion. Whitaker Foundation. Education. Healthcare. Homelessness. He scrolled down, and there it was. The foundation logo. A small gold lighthouse. The same lighthouse. The same one that had been pinned to Eleanor Whitaker's coat on that sidewalk. Lamar sat back in the library chair. The screen blurred. His hands gripped the edge of the desk. He realized, all at once, who he'd helped. He had no idea what was coming next. That night, walking back to the shelter, the black town car pulled up beside him. The window rolled down. Vanessa Price, gentle smile in the glow of the dashboard. Mr. Whitaker would like to see you tomorrow, 10 a.m. He said please. Lamar said yes. He had no idea he was about to walk into the biggest moment of his entire life. Lamar thought the twist was that he'd saved a billionaire's mother. He had no idea the real twist was waiting for him, 52 floors up, and it had nothing to do with money. The next morning, State Street, downtown Boston, Whitaker Holdings Tower stretched up into a cold blue sky, all glass and steel. Lamar stood on the sidewalk in his cleanest hoodie and stared up at it. His mouth was dry. He almost turned around. He almost walked back to Millie's. Then he thought about Eleanor's hand squeezing back on that sidewalk, and he made his feet move through the revolving doors. The lobby was all marble and hushed voices. Security stood at a steel desk. Lamar braced to get stopped. Instead, the receptionist stood up the moment she saw him. "Mr. Hayes, they're expecting you, 52nd floor." He almost looked behind him to see who she was talking to. Mr. Hayes. Nobody had ever called him Mr. Hayes in his life. The elevator was quiet. He caught his reflection in the polished steel. Same kid, same hoodie. He tucked the St. Luke's medal inside his shirt. It felt like his mother was standing behind him. "Mama, walk with me." The doors opened onto the 52nd floor. It wasn't what he expected. No cold chrome. The hallway was warm. Soft lamps, thick rugs, wood paneling. Black and white photographs hung along the walls. Community clinics, kids at summer camp, volunteers unloading food boxes. Beneath each photo, small script, the Whitaker Foundation. Vanessa Price was waiting at the end of the hall, same gentle smile. "Lamar, before you go in, I just want to say something. I've worked for Mr. Whitaker for 12 years. I've never seen him cry. He cried yesterday. Because of you." She paused. "Thank you. From me. Personally." Lamar just nodded. She opened the door. It wasn't an office. It was a sitting room, fireplace, a tall window looking out over Boston Harbor, a couch. On the couch, propped up with pillows, the slightest droop still pulling at her cheek, Eleanor Whitaker. Beside her, Gregory Whitaker. Lamar's knees almost gave out. Eleanor reached out her good hand. "Young man, come here, please." He crossed the room. His legs didn't feel like his. She took his hand, the same hand she'd gripped on the sidewalk, and pressed it to her cheek. Her eyes filled. "I owe you everything. I don't know how to say thank you for something like this." Gregory cleared his throat. His eyes were red. "Lamar, before anything else, I need to apologize to you. The first thing I did when I saw you on that sidewalk, I was ready to hurt you. You had just saved my mother's life, and I was running at you like I was going to hit you." His voice cracked. "I will carry that shame for a long time." Lamar shook his head slowly. Sir, you was scared for your mama. I get it. We good. Gregory laughed, short, broken, and wiped his face. You keep making it harder to stay put together, son. Then Eleanor said, softly, Gregory, show him. Gregory picked up a folder from the side table, pulled out an old photograph. He held it out. Lamar took it. His blood went cold. A young woman in a nurse's uniform, bright eyes, braids pulled back, smiling. His mother, Denise Hayes, standing next to a much younger Eleanor Whitaker, both of them beaming. Eleanor was holding a newborn baby. Lamar's hand started to shake. Eleanor's voice was soft. Lamar, your mother was my nurse, 35 years ago. When I had complications delivering Gregory, I nearly died on that table. She held my hand through 2 nights. She prayed with me. I never forgot her. Lamar couldn't breathe. When she went back to school to finish her RN, the Whitaker Foundation paid for it. Quietly. Anonymously. Your mama was a proud woman. She wouldn't have accepted charity. So we made sure she never knew. Every tuition check, every textbook, every uniform, for almost 20 years. And Lamar, her voice wavered, I was the godmother your mother named at your christening. She and I lost touch when she moved back to Dorchester. 2 years ago I heard she was sick. I tried to find her. I was too late. I didn't know she had a son. I didn't know you existed, baby. Lamar's legs gave out. He sat down hard on the ottoman, gripped the photograph with both hands, stared at his mother's face. Eleanor leaned forward as much as her body would let her. The woman you saved on that sidewalk was already in your mama's debt. And in yours now. You saved the woman who owed your mother her life. Honey, that's not a coincidence. That is a circle. She reached toward the St. Luke's medal resting against his chest and let out a small, broken gasp. I gave her that. For her graduation from nursing school, St. Luke. She's been wearing you through all of this, baby. Lamar started crying, the kind of crying you do when something you thought was lost forever walks back through the door. Gregory knelt next to him. Your mother held me the first time I opened my eyes in this world, Lamar. And you held mine the day she almost left it. You and I, we were already family. We just didn't know yet. Eleanor pulled him gently toward her. And for the first time in 8 months, a woman old enough to be his grandmother held him while he cried. Lamar came to that office thinking they'd hand him a check. What they handed him instead, he still hasn't fully understood. And it started with a single sentence. Gregory gave him a minute to get his breath back. He passed Lamar a handkerchief, real linen, monogrammed GSW in the corner. Lamar laughed through the tears. Sir, I'm going to ruin this thing. Gregory sat back in the chair across from him. His voice was softer than it had been in the lobby. Then I'll frame it, Lamar. They sat there for a long moment. The fireplace popped. Eleanor watched them both with wet eyes. When Lamar could breathe again, Gregory leaned forward, elbows on his knees. He wasn't a CEO right now. He was just a son, talking to another son. I want to say some things to you. I'm going to say them in pieces because it's a lot. You don't have to decide anything today, okay? Lamar nodded. Okay. First thing, housing. Gregory pulled a folder onto his lap. There's a building we own in the South End, 2-bedroom apartment, 2nd floor, furnished, utilities included. It's yours. Lamar opened his mouth. Gregory held up a hand. Before you say no, My mother already told me you'd try to, so I want you to hear this clearly. It's a lease, not a gift. $1 a year for as long as you're in school. You're a tenant. You sign a lease. Your mother would have skinned me alive for giving you a handout, so it's not a handout. It's a rental agreement. Eleanor nodded firmly from the couch. That woman had more pride than the Pope, baby. We know. Lamar laughed. A real laugh. His first one all day. Yes, ma'am, she did. Second thing, Gregory slid another document across the coffee table. This one is the big one. Lamar looked down at it. At the top of the page, in bold print, the Denise Hayes Memorial Scholarship. He went still. We set it up this morning, Gregory said. Full ride. It'll cover your GED completion first, those 3 weeks you missed at Brighton High, then pre-med at Boston University, then medical school at BU Med. Tuition, books, living stipend, everything. Lamar stared at the paper. His mother's name in serif print at the top of the page. Your mama wanted a nurse in the family, Eleanor said softly. But I've been watching you, baby. I think you want to go further. We want to make sure nothing stops you. Lamar's mouth worked, but no sound came out. Third thing, mentorship. Gregory flipped to the next page. Dr. Alicia Hartwell. She's the chief of neurology at Mass General. She's one of the doctors who treated my mother. She watched the video of your handoff to the paramedics. She said, and I'm quoting, "I want that kid in my hospital in 10 years. She's agreed to personally mentor you through your entire education." Lamar's head was spinning. He reached up and touched the St. Luke's medal through his hoodie, just to feel it was still there. Fourth thing. And this one, Lamar, this one is bigger than you. Gregory slid one more folder over. Lamar opened it. The Denise Hayes Community Health Initiative. We're renaming our community health program. $15 million over 5 years. Mobile stroke units in Roxbury, in Mattapan, in East Boston. Free fast training and basic CPR in every public high school in the city. The program that might have saved your mother, we're going to make sure no other kid in Boston has to watch their mom go the way you did. His voice got thick. We want you on the advisory board. Paid. Starting now. Your name, your mama's name, on the side of every one of those trucks. Lamar couldn't stop shaking his head. Not no, just, this is too much. This is too much. Eleanor reached across and took his hand again. Baby, listen to me. This is not charity. This is not a reward. This is a debt 35 years old finally getting paid. Your mother carried us. Now, we carry you. That's how families work. Gregory nodded. And Lamar, we are not your saviors. You did this. You taught yourself CPR in a public library at 17 years old. You stopped in the rain when nobody else would. We are just trying to catch up to what you already are. Silence. The fire popped again. Gregory cleared his throat. One more thing, and this one is personal. I have a son, Preston. He's 19. Good kid. But he never wondered where his next meal was coming from. I'd like him to meet you, if you're open to it. I think he needs to know you exist. I think I need him to know. Lamar looked up. His voice came out very quiet. I'd like that, sir. He took a slow breath. He wiped his face with Gregory's handkerchief. Can I ask for one thing? Gregory sat forward. Anything. My mama's grave, in Mount Hope. She only got a little metal marker, numbers on it, not even her full name. Could some of that money go toward a real stone? Something with her name on it? Eleanor was crying openly now. Honey, we will pick out the most beautiful stone you have ever seen. You're going to choose every word on it. Lamar nodded. He couldn't talk anymore. Gregory walked him all the way to the elevator himself, put a hand on his shoulder before the doors closed. Lamar, you don't have to decide today. Take a week. Take a month. We're not going anywhere. Lamar smiled, wiped his face one more time. Mr. Whitaker, my mama raised me to know a door from God when I see one. I'm walking through it. In the elevator, alone, he closed his eyes, whispered it into the quiet. Mama, you set this up, didn't you? He walked out onto State Street. The sun had finally broken through. He didn't run for the bus, he just walked, head up, for the first time in a very long time. A year later, a lot of people in Boston knew Lamar Hayes' name, but the kid he was most proud of knowing was a 10-year-old girl in Roxbury he'd never met until 3 weeks before she saved her grandfather's life. 6 weeks after that afternoon on Boylston Street, WBZ ran the first interview. Claire Bishop, the reporter, sat across from Lamar in a clean button-down shirt, hands folded, shy smile. She asked him the question everyone wanted to know. Lamar, how has your life changed? He thought about it for a long moment. Ma'am, the biggest change ain't the apartment. It's quiet. I can hear myself think again. The clip ran on loop for a week. 3 months in, he earned his GED. He insisted on a small ceremony. Empty auditorium at Brighton High. Just him walking across the stage to the principal who'd known his mother. Eleanor and Gregory were in the front row. Eleanor held up a handmade sign. It just said in shaky marker, Denise's boy. Lamar almost didn't make it across the stage. 6 months in, he was a freshman at Boston University, pre-med track, living in that South End apartment, paying his $1 a year in rent. Dr. Alicia Hartwell met him for coffee every other Friday. She didn't coddle him, she pushed him. He loved her for it. On weekends, he ran stroke awareness tables outside corner stores in Dorchester, Mattapan, Roxbury, blue tablecloth, laminated fast posters, a folding chair. He gave out pamphlets and demonstrated on volunteers. A photo went viral. Lamar, now 20 pounds heavier, a real jacket on his shoulders, kneeling next to a 10-year-old girl in pink sneakers, teaching her the letters. F-A-S-T. Her name was Keisha Morgan. 3 months later, Keisha's grandfather collapsed at the kitchen table in Mattapan. She knew what she was looking at. She told her mom. She said the words, Grandpa's face is droopy. His arm won't work. We got a call. Right now. He survived. Reporters showed up at her school. Keisha, 10 years old, pigtails, looked right at the camera. Mr. Lamar taught me. He said it could be anybody. He was right. The clip ran on every station in the state. By the end of year 1, the Denise Hayes Community Health Initiative had trained over 12,000 Boston teenagers in fast and basic CPR. 3 mobile stroke units were on the road, wrapped in soft purple, with small script on the side that read, In memory of Denise Hayes, RN. She saw us first. Millie's Diner became famous. Carl hung Lamar's photo on the wall behind the register. Tourists ordered the Hayes special, grilled cheese and tomato soup, because that was what Lamar used to order when he could afford anything. $2 from every plate went to the initiative. Officer Daniels showed up at Lamar's apartment one Tuesday with a grocery bag. Inside was a used medical textbook from his own son's school days and a plate of his wife's pecan pie. He didn't say much, just hugged him hard and walked back down the stairs. Mrs. Delacroix still worked at Pine Street Inn, but one wing was now called the Hayes Wing. funded quietly by the Whitaker Foundation. 12 private rooms for teenagers aging out of the foster system. Lamar visited every Sunday, brought donuts from a spot on Huntington, sat with the kids who looked the way he used to look, told them the same thing every time. Library's still free. Anything you want to be. The library is free, you hear me? Eleanor made a full recovery. She moved her Sunday family dinners to include Lamar every week. He learned which fork was for which course. He also taught her how to text LOL. They were ridiculous together. Preston Whitaker flew home from Dartmouth to meet him. They went to a Celtics game. They didn't talk about money. They talked about their moms. Preston called his father that night from the hotel bathroom. "Dad, he's the best human I've ever met. I want to be like him." Boston Magazine put Lamar on the cover. The kid from the library, his face serious, quiet, not smiling. A New York Times op-ed written by a neurologist called the Denise Hayes Initiative a model for every city in America. 6 cities adopted it: Philadelphia, Atlanta, Detroit, Baltimore, Cleveland, New Orleans. The final frame of that year, Lamar in hospital scrubs for the first time, shadowing at Mass General. An elderly woman in a recovery bed, stroke patient, her left hand trembling. Lamar sat down beside her, adjusted her blanket, took her hand, and said very softly, "You're going to be all right, ma'am. They got you now." Same words, different room. The circle was starting to close. 3 years later, on a rainy October afternoon, on a sidewalk on Boylston Street, the circle closed again. Same corner, Boylston and Exeter. Rain is coming down. A small bronze plaque had been installed on the brick wall of the dry cleaners, right where Lamar had once eased Eleanor down out of the rain. It read, "On this spot, a young man stopped when no one else would. Kindness, like blood, keeps us alive. The Whitaker family." The plaque didn't name him. That had been his request. Lamar walked past it on his way to the library. 20 years old now, 3rd year at BU, pre-med. A good coat on his shoulders. He slowed as he reached the plaque, touched it gently, the way you'd touch a friend's shoulder. Then he kept walking. Ahead of him, on a bench under the thin awning of a coffee shop, he saw a teenage boy, maybe 16, backpack at his feet, thin jacket, hood up against the rain, looking at nothing. The kind of looking at nothing that Lamar remembered in his bones. He slowed. He stopped. He sat down beside the boy. Didn't say anything at first. Then he reached into his coat pocket and pulled out a small silver medallion on a thin chain, a St. Luke's medal. Not the one his mother had given him. He still wore that one. He'd been carrying spares for a while. "My mama always said," he said softly, "saints don't save you, but they remind you who you wanted to be." He let that sit in the air. "What you want to be, man?" The kid's voice was flat. "Don't know. Nothing. Ain't nobody cares." Lamar smiled, small, sad. "Yeah, I used to think that too." He pulled a card from his wallet, not Gregory's card anymore, his own. Lamar Hayes, Youth Outreach Coordinator, the Denise Hayes Community Health Initiative. He held it out. The kid looked at it, looked at Lamar. The distrust cracked. "What's this?" "It's me," Lamar said. "Library's still free, bruh. And so is dinner. You hungry?" The kid swallowed, nodded. "Yeah." Lamar stood up, held out his hand. The kid took it. Lamar pulled him up and clapped him once on the shoulder. "Come on, little bro. I know a diner." They walked off down Boylston in the rain. The small bronze plaque glinted on the wall behind them. Voiceover, softly. Years ago, on this block, a homeless boy stopped for a stranger. Today, a man, who used to be that boy, stopped for another. That's not a coincidence. That's a circle. And circles, once they start, they don't stop. Two silhouettes walked away from the camera. Rain glistened on the sidewalk. And somewhere above it all, an old nurse named Denise Hayes was smiling. If Lamar's story moved you even a little, hit that like button for me. The algorithm listens when you do, and a story like this deserves to find the next person who needs to hear it. Share it with somebody in your life who needs the reminder. And subscribe, because I've got more of these coming. Real stories about ordinary people doing extraordinary things. Tell me in the comments, what's the smallest act of kindness that changed your life? I read every single one. Until next time, keep your eyes open on the sidewalk. You never know who's about to change your life.
Everyone walked past her. The only person who stopped was the homeless kid with $4 because he'd already lost his mother the same way and swore he'd never be homeless again. Lamar watched his mother die on the kitchen floor because he didn't know how to help. He was 15, and instead of letting that destroy him, he walked to a library and taught himself to never be helpless again. The worst thing that ever happens to you doesn't have to be the last thing that defines you. You can take a moment that broke you and turn it into a reason you saved someone else. Lamar couldn't save his mama, so he made sure he'd never fail the next person. And because of that, Eleanor is alive. All because one kid refused to let him watch day to be the end of his story. So, let me ask you something real. What broke you? That you haven't turned it into something useful yet? What pain are you still carrying that could become someone else's lifeline? Tell me in the comments. If this hit you, like, share, and subscribe. Hit the bell. We tell the story every week. Your worst moment doesn't have to be your last chapter. It can be someone else's first. Remember that.